Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in faith. My name is Mike Magid Abdullati. I'm the president of American Finance House Lariba, and on behalf of Lariba's shareholders, the board, the management, and the staff, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here to this special night of Lariba's. We are gathered here on this beautiful, balmy Southern California evening, as you can tell, to commemorate the 11th annual Lariba Awards dinner. Besides our distinguished Lariba awardees, tonight is even more special as we are awarding a well-deserved individual the Lifetime of Achievement Award for his contributions to the field of riba, or ribbit-free Islamic finance. Without further ado, I would like to invite Sheikh Ghazali up to do their citation. Sheikh Ghazali Salim is from the Asian Islamic Center in Pomona.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى ما سلف فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى فله ما سلف وأمره ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون يمحق الله الربا ويربي الصدقات يمحق الله الربا ويربي الصدقات والله لا يحب كل كفار أثيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين فإن لم تفعلوا فأذنوا بحرب من الله ورسوله وإن تبتم فلكم رؤوس أموالكم لا تظلمون ولا تظلمون وإن كان ذو عسرة فنظرة إلى ميسرة وأن تصدقوا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون واتقوا يوما ترجعون فيه إلى الله واتقوا يوما ترجعون فيه إلى الله ثم توفى كل نفس بما كسبت ما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون صدق الله العظيم.
Next, actually, we have a treat. It's going to be a little challenging, but we have a treat. We have Miss Azada Dadgostar will be, please join us. She'll be reciting the Star-Spangled Banner and God Bless America. She joins us from the Iranian Muslim Association of North America.
Oh, say, can you see that so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
What a wonderful rendition. We thank you very much. We have Senator Jack Scott would like to say a few words to our distinguished awardees.
I may not be able to project quite as well as that beautiful voice of the young woman who just sang, but I am glad to stand before you to welcome each of you to this wonderful event. My wife and I have had the privilege of attending this event for several years now, and we have always been struck by the diversity of the crowd, by the warmth of feeling, and by the deep religious convictions. I was reading not long ago from George Washington, and in his words, even in the early part, he talked about religious liberty. And he mentioned not only Christians, but he mentioned Jews, and he also mentioned those, and in his writing, I believe, he said those who worship Mahomet. That was the way perhaps in the 18th century they expressed it. But we hope in America to open our welcoming arms to people of all faiths. And we have been particularly impressed by the contribution that had been made to our country in the last decades by those who have come to our shores and settled here of the Muslim faith. I have traveled to Muslim countries, Nigeria, Syria, to the country of Jordan, and I have always found a warm welcome there. And so to you who may be visiting us for the first time in the United States, as your state senator that represents this area, I want to tell you how much we welcome you, how proud we are of this particular organization, Lariba. Certainly, all faiths have indicated that God is our steward, that Allah gives us the material things that we have, and that He calls upon us to use them well. And so the fact that this organization has been a means of reaching out and blessing people with the use of money in a way that is in keeping with your faith. We applaud you for that. And I certainly, as a state official and as an American, we welcome you with open arms tonight to the city of Pasadena. Thank you very much.
And now, if I may, I'd like to introduce the mayor of the city of Pasadena, Mayor Bill Bogart, to also say a few words.
I can't say how pleased I am to have this opportunity on behalf of the city to join with Senator Jack Scott in extending a cordial welcome to all of you. From my point of view as mayor, this is a proud event for the city of Pasadena. To attract all of you here to enjoy Pasadena, to celebrate an important event in one of our important civic buildings. That makes me proud. To have Dr. Rahman and his important financial institution headquartered here, knowing the creative work it has done to create financial products that can be offered to followers of the Islam faith in conformity with their beliefs. That's a proud fact for me as mayor of Pasadena. We take a lot of interest in Pasadena in welcoming people from different parts of the country and different parts of the world. We're proud of being a cosmopolitan city and a diverse city with many different viewpoints, interests, backgrounds, cultural identities. Pasadena is a very vital and exciting city because of events like this, because of people like you. And we thank you for being here, and I hope that you have we all have a wonderful evening as we celebrate the persons being honored tonight. I enjoy the opportunity to join in the recognition that is being given to those who are being honored tonight. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Yahya Abdul Rahman, and on behalf of American Finance House Lariba, I'd like to welcome you all, and we appreciate your coming out for an evening of excellence. Tonight happens to be the day of the birth of Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and prayers be upon him. And we look at this event as an event of excellence, the excellence of the Prophet, may God's peace and prayers be upon him, as well as all of God's prophets from Adam and Eve to Noah, to Abraham, to his children, Ishmael and Isaac, and their descendants, all of them, including Prophets Moses, Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad. May God's peace and prayers be showered unto them, and we pray that we will take them as our examples in conducting our lives, in developing our relationships, in serving people for a better life, so we can achieve excellence. So this is the night of excellence, and we hold it once a year. And we hope that from year to year we'll achieve more excellence. I have had the honor of knowing all of you. I can actually go through the tables one by one, and I can name all of you because all of you are friends of American Finance House Lariba. I'd like to first recognize our chief guest, His Excellency the Minister of Finance of Malaysia, Tan Sri Nur Muhammad bin Yaqub. Please stand up, and his wife, Mrs. Fauzia. And Tan Sri actually flew in Los Angeles last night, and he's flying back to Malaysia tonight. The flight leaves after midnight. Actually, last weekend, he spent it in Washington, D.C., so we're going to call him the weekender in America, finance minister. So we are very happy to have him with us. And I'd like to also introduce Mr. Keith Wright, our representative from Fannie Mae, who came to receive the award to Fannie Mae, and Mrs. Colette Porter and Mrs. Donna Simpson. And we also have been honored to have with us many members of the diplomatic corps in the city of Los Angeles. And I was telling the mayor of Pasadena, Mayor Bogart, that it's just about time to invite the diplomatic corps to visit Pasadena. Maybe we'll have a diplomatic city in Pasadena for the diplomats. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this or not, Mayor Bogart, but the Consul General from Malaysia lives in San Marino. We got to bring him to Pasadena. Right. And I'd like to recognize the Honorable Handrio Kusumo Priyo and his wife. Please stand up. The Consul General of Indonesia. Consul General of Indonesia. And we have actually an Indonesian member of our community running the Islamic Center in the city of Azusa. And very happy, Rahmat Fayakol from Thailand and his wife, Mrs. Fayakol from Indonesia. The Honorable Nur Muhammad Jadmani and his wife, the Consul General of Pakistan, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Jadmani. We have the Honorable Andrew V. Ippolito and his wife, the Honorary Consul General of Liberia, Sir Ippolito. Mr. Bruce and Mrs. Rahma Omimoto, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Provicent. And can I say that you are the, can I? And I had the honor of meeting the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia, Mr. Badawi. And as a matter of fact, we prayed together at Masjid Umar ibn al-Khattab, and we're honored to have you with us, and she is his sister-in-law. Thank you very much. And Mr. and Mrs. Coppola, International Committee of Los Angeles, Mrs. Coppola and Mr. Coppola. Mr. and Mrs. Bobby Tate, Southern California Public Affairs Council. The Honorable Muhammad Shahul Dil Islam and his wife, the Consul General of the Republic of Bangladesh. The Honorable Mrs. M. Finbar Hill and spouse, the Honorary Consul of Ireland. Honorary Consul of Ireland. Mrs. Norma Sila Musa, Director of the Malaysian Tourism Promotion Board. Stand up again, please. Stand up again. Okay. Should we tell everybody to go to Malaysia? Yes? Wonderful. Very nice people. I'm honored to have known the Malaysians and been to Malaysia. They would capture your imagination. You should go and see what the brothers and sisters in Malaysia, very humbly, without too much noise, what they have done in a very short time. Mr. Karunanithy Rano, the Vice Consul of the Consul General of Malaysia. Mr. Masri Zohaini Idris, Vice Consul for Investments in the Consul General of Malaysia. Mr. Idris. Mr. C.K. Lim, President of the Malaysian Association. Mr. Lim. The Honorable Muhammad Zulkifli Muhammad Noor, Consul General of Malaysia, and his wife, Mrs. Noor. Dr. Noor, actually. Dr. Noor is a wonderful immunologist who did her degree in England, Scotland, Edinburgh. The Scottish will not be very happy with that. She is a wonderful lady, mother of 3. And the Ambassador of Malaysia, Mr. Ghazali Sheikh Abdul Khalil, in Malaysian Embassy.
All right, we shall proceed with a video presentation about the American Finance House Lariba, and will be followed by the awards, and then the musical presentation will follow at the end. Nasrun, can we start?
I was very upset or frustrated at first because it looked like I'm not going to buy any house, at that time. But when we find out the American finance is, for me, it's really, just a good news, very good news. Our understanding is no interest involved, that's the main idea.
When someone first hears about Islamic banking, the typical first reaction is, how do you do that? How can you have a banking system which doesn't rely on interest? Because interest is fundamental to the way we do banking these days.
In the Hebrew scriptures, you find an interesting statement there, I think it's in the Leviticus, that addresses the Israelites that you should not lend to your brother with interest, with riba.
If you're asking what is the Jewish understanding of rebate, then you really have to look at not only the biblical but the rabbinic understanding of rebate. And for the rabbis, these laws would apply in the relationship of Jews to non-Jews just as much as it applies in the relationship of Jews to Jews.
Our members who do business with faith-based organizations, whether it's a church or a mosque or some organization affiliated with a religion, whether they're building senior housing or trying to create small businesses to revitalize a community, or whether they're trying to build a synagogue, our members have never had a loss on one of those loans. So that's a very good experience.
One of the longer lasting impressions which you get is the piety of the Islamic bankers, the sense that they are not just engaging in financial transactions, but that in addition they are fulfilling a religious duty.
Islamic finance as being a part of Islamic economics is much more than being about interest-free finance. It's about trust, honor, integrity and contracts.
The love of money is the root of all evil. Money is available to if you manage it and not let it manage you.
Money can be the devil that can bring you closer to hell, and it can be also the very thick wall to protect you from hell if you utilize it correctly. And that's why I see that any successful Islamic banking is the one that looks at humanity first, looks at the person and develop the person who has control on the money to recognize God in every act.
Lariba is a movement that we hope will catch on not only amongst the Muslims but amongst all people of all faith in Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism and Islam. And it is a movement that looks at money as a tool, as a measuring device, not as something to be rented.
Headquartered in Pasadena, California, American finance house Lariba is a faith-based financial institution. In 1987, a pioneering group of community members created this financial institution that has grown manifold since its modest beginnings. It has become the most recognized name in its field across the United States and around the globe.
Islamic financing is a total concept of financing. It incorporates 3 or 4 different aspects. The first thing is it must be socially responsible financing. The second aspect is the rate of return that's used for the financing needs to be marked to the market. It cannot start from a predetermined interest rate or any interest index. And the third most important item is it needs to be asset-based.
This interest also is known as rent on the money, which is prohibited in Islam and many other religions.
We are out to disengage people's thinking in terms of riba or interest. We want people to think in terms of the economic viability of every activity they embark on.
We make more of an effort than a traditional riba bank at looking at the property or the car to see if it's a good investment or not.
Lariba is the only company in the world, and I say this without qualifications, that can reject your home financing or automobile financing application because it does not make economic sense.
Lariba serves many of the states within the U.S., and we're looking to expand the canvas and cover the whole United States. We currently have offices in New Jersey, so to cover both coasts.
We are the oldest community-owned financial institution in the United States.
They come here to satisfy their faith. So that is more of an obligation on our side to give them the service that they require.
We started with American financing company a long time ago. We had a loan from the American finance company for the car wash 10 years ago, and right now we are starting a new car wash equipment. We are going through the process to get another equipment lease or finance through American finance company.
American Finance House cannot lend for anyone who would like to do business illegally, such as opening bar and selling liquor. We don't do that, it's haram.
We deal with the Lariba financing company for almost about 8 years now. We finance through them about 3 machines. As far as financing, they are very good service.
Lariba provides the services and facilities for financing, home financing, somebody who is interested to buy a new home. It can be a condo, it can be a townhouse, it can be an independent house, it can be a duplex, triplex and fourplex also.
I am a civil engineer by profession. I decided to buy a house in an Islamic way, and alhamdulillah, American Finance House provided that for me. Now I have some sense of belonging. I used to rent apartments for the last 10 years, and I was just going from one apartment to another apartment due to the needs, the rises, the kids was growing.
Once you come to Lariba or Lariba family, you feel that you are also a member of that organization.
My name is Ashfaq Shabandri. I'm working in KFC last 15 years, and I own this store last 5 years.
Last year our store was #1. So we got the award for best of the best. The best store in whole Southern California.
I'm very satisfied because of Lariba, we don't have to deal with the interest and all.
They treat us like a family, That's why we are very happy with them.
Owning a home gives us a sense of security, besides the fact of actually paying lower than what the going rents are in the area. We looked at interest rates and, to compare the interest rates, and in fact Lariba met the mainstream rates that were being offered.
American Finance House will not deal with you the same way a regular lending organization will deal. You can get to the president through a phone call, you can talk to, they really, when you go to meet them, you get to be treated as a human being. They'll ask you about your family, when is your wife due. We're going to invite them for dinner. We never invited them. I still owe them a dinner after we bought the house.
My name is Claudio Gallego. I'm a nephrologist, and I've joined a group here that has had experience with American Finance Company. I think they're interested in community expansion and helping people to grow, both financially, and they also want to make sure that the people they associate with have something to give back to the community. I respect that philosophy. I think that transcends any religious separations.
We found the opportunity to be competitive with what we got with the bank, so financially it worked out for us as well. The website of Lariba gives some background about Lariba's activities, and it also has some informative links to other information on the notion of Islamic banking and Islamic financing. So both the general background and specific projects of Lariba, their philosophy and their methods. And my first contact was through emailing them through their website as well.
Honestly, I feel blessed to work with the people I'm working with. They're from all over the world, and of course they're very committed to our mission, to the company's mission.
We believe we have something to contribute to America. We're proud to be Americans. We live here. This is our home. This is our children's home. And we're trying to deliver a better system, a better product that complements the traditional system out there.
We are a specialized house, and we have a very recognized name as serious, innovative, high quality, transparent, American regulated finance company.
The ultimate goal is to hopefully remove the word interest from every household in America.
What if everyone said, we won't pay interest? Well, there is such a movement.
In Dallas, ABC's Peggy Waymeyer.
Interest is banned because under Islamic law, all parties to a financial transaction must share in the risks and the profits, and no party can be guaranteed a return at the expense of someone else. At this Muslim financial institution, one of a handful across the country, home buyers do not receive a mortgage.
We've been very fairly treated by the American media, and we've received great enthusiasm. ABC News, a variety of newspapers. We've been invited to speak on public radio.
I first got introduced to American Finance House when I moved to the United States from Kenya, and I had no credit history whatsoever. It was very hard to get any credit from anyone, and I was trying to establish myself to start my residency, and I introduced myself, and without any knowledge of him ever knowing me, he was willing to help me start or give me a loan without any collaterals on the Islamic principles.
A community Lariba financier or Islamic banker is a person who doesn't only have money, but a person who is willing to sacrifice his own time, his own life, his own belongings to make sure that the community lives better. It's not only a matter of how much money you make in terms of return on your investment. It is how many assets have you helped accumulate? How many households have you helped open up? How many people have you made their lives better? How many people have you touched not only their vision, their aspirations, their spirits, their hearts, but touched their pocket, their wallets? Because you can tell them anything you want, but end of the day they say, well, what difference did it make in my life? Am I eating better? Am I dressed better? Am I driving a better car? Am I enjoying better health care? And that is what a community banker, community financier should always be looking for.
We've now come to the part of the evening that we're all here for, and that's the awards presentations. I would like to call our founder and spirit, Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman.
Every year we gather to celebrate the excellence in achievement in serving people. As a matter of fact, since 1993, we have done that, and these are the flags of the countries of origin or the countries where the recipients have come from. The first recipient came from India, and he's Dr. Najatullah Siddiqui. Second one was Sheikh Saleh Kamel from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And then we have Turkey, and then we have the United States and Pakistan and Egypt. And we'll skip California, we go to Malaysia, and we have Sudan, and what else? Canada, and many other places. Tonight we have actually two of the recipients with us. I didn't mention them. One of them is Professor Mahmoud Al-Gamal. Professor Mahmoud, please stand up. And Mahmoud Al-Gamal is a very dear friend of ours, and he is the first ever chaired professor of Islamic banking and finance at Rice University, and soon to be in better places in addition. And I just want to also recognize a man who has been very quiet supporter but dedicated believer, and his name is Zubair Qazi. Please, Zubair and Khadija Qazi, also a recipient of the Lariba Award. We thank you very much for your support. I want to also make a very important point that we did not go hat in hand trying to get money from outside the Muslim community in any of the countries, regardless how rich they were, because we believe that if we really are big boys and girls, we better put our money where our mouth is. So we made it intentional that this is a subchapter S company, so it only allows American citizens to become shareholders of the company. So we did not go hat in hand. We are not a foreign corporation. We are an honest to goodness American corporation as good as an apple pie. We're all very proud of it. You may sense a Texan accent in my speech, but it's all right. I learned it from Jack Scott. Wonderful. Tonight we're going to celebrate the awards that we're offering to a very dear organization that supported us all the way through, and that is Fannie Mae. And for that we have Mr. Keith Wright who came to receive the award. I would like Mike to read the awards. We have many, many awards and recognitions from many organs of the state of California, the County of Los Angeles, City of Pasadena, and on and on. And Mike will go ahead and read. For all of them.
From the California State Assembly, we have an award. We'll name the awards and then we'll ask the awardees to come up. Is that okay? Yeah. From the County of Los Angeles, we have a commendation. It reads, in recognition of the dedicated service to the affairs of the community and for the civic pride demonstrated by numerous contributions for the benefits. Thank you. From the County of Los Angeles, the Sheriff's Department, also recognizing Fannie Mae and the representatives of Fannie Mae. And from the City of Los Angeles, congratulations on the outstanding work that the Fannie Mae organization and the representatives do. The award for the City of Pasadena is...
Where's the City of Pasadena? Okay, can we ask, please, Mr. Wright, come up here. Mrs. Porter. If there's somebody who took a lot of heat from somebody else, an old man called Yahya Abdul Rahman, it's these two ladies actually. So I apologize to you publicly if I exerted a lot of pressure on you. I had a dream, and the dream was to first have a system where we offer financing to the community according to the Abrahamic faith in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and we achieved that, and we thank God for it. But then the next step was to be able to turn around and package these mortgages in the form of instruments like a CD, where the income will not come from interest but from rent streams of these places. And through the hard work of these two ladies and the support of Fannie Mae, we pulled it through for the first time in the history of the world, actually. So please give them a hand to appreciate what they have done. Thank you very much. And I'd like to also, this is Colette Porter. We'll open it up so we can take a picture together, please. And go ahead. And Fannie Mae. And Donna Simpson. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And then I'd like to go ahead and give the award, the American Finance House Award, while we're at it. And then you can give us a 2-minute speech so we can hustle with it. This is an award for excellence in community service that we started in 1993. And we're very serious about this award. The Board of Directors evaluates the real excellence and contribution everyone has done. We are not a marketing organization. We are an organization that serves people. We do not advertise. We don't send flyers. We do not put our advertisements in newspapers. We just rely on the word of mouth, on person-to-person referral. And our website, and we thank God for it, is visited every night by somewhere between 600 to 700 visitors. And we thank God for that. And it says a lot about your belief in what we do. So I'd like to recognize what you have done to us, Fannie Mae. I hope next time the chairman of Fannie Mae will come and visit us to thank him personally. And thank you. If you have a few words,
sure,
please.
I will. Be
Yeah.
happy to.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rahman. Before we talk a little bit about why we're happy to receive this, is the mayor still here? I met the mayor earlier. Maybe he had to leave. But I was thinking maybe before I leave Pasadena, I might work with the mayor to put together some petitions to see if we can get Dr. Rahman elected as the UN General Secretary. I'm absolutely... Don't you think he'd make a wonderful United Nations Secretary? On behalf of Fannie Mae, very happy to be here in Pasadena tonight at almost 1 o'clock a.m. to accept this award. East Coast time is almost 1 o'clock for me. Piece of cake, Dr. Rahman said. And it's not because Fannie Mae is perhaps one of the largest non-bank financial organizations in the world. And it's not that I'm happy to be here because since our inception, we have serviced over 58 million Americans with homes. And it's not because of the fact that every day all across America, Fannie Mae is working somewhere on behalf of the American home buyer. But what makes me very happy to be here tonight is simply because of the relationship that Fannie Mae does on a very local and personal level. And when Colette Porter called me and asked me if I would come out to support her and one of her partners, I was delighted to be here. And it didn't even bother me that I knew that Dr. Rahman wanted Frank Raines here. But I promise you, I have more hair than him.
You try me. I keep trying until I make it.
Okay, all right. I was told that you were very persistent. But it is important for our organization to work very, very close with the local community. And so the work that Donna Simpson and Paulette do here in Pasadena, the work that other Fannie Mae folks do throughout the United States, it does us good to be able to come together and celebrate. And I'll just close by saying, Dr. Rahman, this week at Fannie Mae in Washington, we held for our employees what we called a little pep rally. And that's because from time to time, big organizations, we have our share of critics. And so to keep us focused on the good work that we're doing, our chairman, Mr. Raines, decided just to have a day pep rally to charge the troops up. I'm happy to say that when we go back and Donna and Colette put these pictures on our home site, this award will do more for our entire organization than any pep rally that we could give for ourselves. So on behalf of Fannie Mae and the 4,500 employees, I say thank you very much.
We're honored to have you. Really, thank you very much. Now, Colette Porter is a persistent person. She attended this function 2 years ago, actually, and we were honoring their competitor, smaller organization. I will mention the name. And then she said, you know, how come you're doing this? You're not working with us. So we started a relationship that produced even much better achievement than anything else that we have ever dreamed of. Colette is a mother of two, a beautiful young man and a beautiful young lady. How old is she?
4 months.
4 months now? Yeah, I haven't seen her, but I've seen your son. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 2 years ago I was here and I sat way back there and thought one day maybe I'll be way up here. And we've had a lot of good fun making that happen. Thank you for your kind words tonight. Thank you, Mike. Donna and I are extremely grateful to be recognized by the American Finance House Lariba, and it's very extraordinary to be recognized individually in addition to having your employer recognized, and we are very, very honored. So to the entire Lariba team, thank you very much. We're very grateful. It's been a very interesting journey working with the American Finance House Lariba to establish this partnership with Fannie Mae. From the very beginning, I knew this customer was different and very special. From the viewing of It's a Wonderful Life video in your office, to meeting families like the Norzays of Woodland Hills, who were able to achieve the dream of home ownership because riba-free financing was available to them through the American Finance House Lariba. Last year at this dinner, Dr. Rahman challenged me to help put together this mortgage-backed security that he spoke of. And I know, as we all know him and love him, he can be extremely persuasive.
Say it lightly, I know.
So I knew Donna and I were going to have to work very hard to be able to bring yes to American Finance House Lariba, and we were able to do that, and we're very happy about that, so thank you. Together, we're making a difference in the lives of American Muslims by making home ownership a possibility. And for Donna and me, that makes coming to work incredibly fulfilling. It's been an honor to be associated with the work of this important institution. And I get calls from all around the country asking about this particular business model. This partnership is part of Fannie Mae's faith-based homeownership initiative, and it serves a population that is often overlooked by the traditional mortgage market. But Donna and I consider it simply good business. So to Dr. Rahman, to Mike, and to the entire American Finance House Lariba team, let's do more good business together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Donna? Want to say a few words? No. 2 minutes? No.
She's with me. She's with me. Thank you.
Donna has done a wonderful job. And what we have done at the American Finance House, we're doing now at the Bank of Whittier, actually. So we will repeating their success story here. And I think you're going to publish something in a booklet.
Yes, actually tomorrow, Keith Wright is going to be speaking on a panel, and I'm going to make a plug for that because he's going to be talking more broadly about Fannie Mae and the work that we're doing with American Finance House Lariba, our partnership, and what Fannie Mae does in the area of faith-based lending and partnerships in that regard. He's going to be also talking and sharing with you some publications that we've recently published that feature families that have benefited from the riba-free financing through American Finance House Lariba. We've got 2 different publications that we're very proud of, and we're very proud to feature your customers because they're an important customer of ours. So we'll have those available. We're bringing copies tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now we come to the next part of the event that only happens occasionally, sometimes every 3 years, every 5 years, every 6 years. And this is an achievement award that we call the Lifetime Achievement Award. And this is given to individuals who have done something out of the ordinary, something that is unusual, unthinkable, and through it they have changed the lives of millions. In 1997, my footsteps took me to Hong Kong to attend the International Monetary Fund meeting, World Bank meeting that was in Hong Kong. And at the time, the currencies in Asia were dropping like rocks. Thailand has been spending all of their foreign reserves to buy their currency back to ebb what's happening. And then Hong Kong experts said it will never happen to Hong Kong. I smiled and chuckled. And then came Malaysia. And Malaysia, in the beginning,
they agreed to take the bitter pill of the IMF until the man at the helm of Malaysia, may God give him long health, his name is Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, and that shows you the value of an intellect leading a nation, an intellect, a person who's educated, who can listen, who can learn. And he made Malaysia the only country in the world ever to do exactly what IMF did not advise them to. IMF said go left, he said no, we'll go right. IMF said do this, no, we'll do this. And today Malaysia, case study is taught at all the top business schools because it was the only country that rescued its economy, protected their reserves, and in the same time never borrowed from the IMF. And when we sat down in the board of directors, we said, how can we recognize this? How can that be recognized? An annual award is not enough. So in the year 2000, we were honored to give the first ever Lifetime Achievement Award to His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad.
I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the American finance house Lariba for conferring on me this Lifetime Achievement Award for my role in resolving the financial crisis in Malaysia. I am particularly honored since I understand that I am the first ever to receive this award. While I accept this recognition with much humility and appreciation, in reality it is the Malaysians who truly deserve this award.
And then life went on, and I had a number of meetings with the brothers and sisters in Malaysia, discussing what happened and doing it. And I want to take you back to 1995 when I went to study what the Malaysians are doing in Islamic banking. And I met a young man at the time, his name is Nur Muhammad Yaqub, that really captured my imagination. And I was very impressed by the way he presented himself. He had just left the Bank Negara Malaysia, Central Bank of Malaysia, and I learned from him that in 1981 he was given the responsibility to write the first position paper on bringing riba-free banking to Malaysia. And upon these recommendations in 1983, the first ever Bank Negara or central bank supported riba-free banking started in a bank called Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. And that was the beginning of a tremendous movement in Malaysia. The fascinating thing about Malaysia is that all these things are done without any conflict between the government and the people who believe in a certain way. And again, it takes an intellectual, not an army officer, or a person who's not educated, who gives himself a title. So life went on, and then came the second important decision, how to popularize this concept. So they had one of two choices. One choice is to take Bank Negara, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, and open up branches for them. But then Mr. Yaqub had a very, very smart idea. He said, well, why don't we ask every bank we have in Malaysia to open a riba-free window? And if the riba-free banking is as good as we claim it is, it should compete well with the conventional banking. And that was the end of it. Through a stroke of a pen, the windows of riba-free banking became prevalent in Malaysia. Today, 10% of the deposits in Malaysia, I think about $25 billion are Islamic bank. And the biggest users of riba-free banking in Malaysia is not the Muslim community, it is a Chinese community in Malaysia. So they must know something we do not know. But I'm very honored to have known Brother Nur Muhammad Yaqub. This is a very unique man, and I'm honored to know him. He had his bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Malaya and an MBA from the Catholic University in Belgium. He also was given an honorary doctor's degree in economics from the University of Tun Abdul Razak Unitar in Malaysia. And here's something very interesting. Of course, he speaks his mother tongue, which is Bahasa Malaysia, and Tamil, which is a language of southern India, and Flemish, which is a language spoken by some Belgians, and Chinese, and I think English. What about French? Yeah? Not French. And so he developed the Islamic banking system in Malaysia, and I can safely call him the father of riba-free banking in Malaysia. He also set up the Securities and Exchange Commission of Malaysia for the first time. Malaysia had a Securities and Exchange Commission along the same lines, and I had the honor of following the progress of the commission. Nowadays they have a beautiful, beautiful building, and because of it, the credibility of the capital markets of Malaysia are now much higher than any average developing country. Malaysia is a developed country now. Also, he developed a very interesting concept which he called the bilateral trade agreements, the BPA. Now, he discovered through his research and his team's research that when two countries trade with each other, the net of the trade in and the trade out is a very small number of dollars. So when you buy cotton from Egypt, for instance, you don't have to send all these dollars to the Egyptian seller, and then the Egyptian seller would send you the dollars to buy your oil. You look at the net, and this way you don't have to deal with a lot of money. And he's working also now on something I hope you don't forget to develop, and that is the use of the gold dinar, which is founded on this whole idea. Mr. Nur Yaqub is a very creative man, and he left Bank Negara in 1994, and I still have good memory. He left Bank Negara in 1994, went to the public sector until 1997, when the Prime Minister went against all traditional thinking. He called him in Argentina, at a meeting in Argentina, and he said, I want to do something that is unusual. And unusual it was. And in every step of the way, Mr. Nur Yaqub first sat down with the Prime Minister to really teach him, and he was willing to learn how the foreign currency system works. And him being a medical doctor, he listened very carefully, and together they devised what has saved Malaysia. Just to give you a glimpse of what they did, they had what they called the tent approach. Under one tent, they had the seller of a real estate property, the buyer of a real estate property, the people who do the registration of title of the real estate property, the banker that would do the financing. And against all odds, the IMF said, increase interest rate. They said, no, we're going to reduce interest rates so we can get the economy going. And because of that, what happened has happened. Of course, after an economic crisis like this, a tremendous impact happens. Markets go down, companies that borrowed money cannot make their payments, so he actually did a tremendous job in restructuring a larger number of companies. Malaysia Airline table here, you should know that it is because of Mr. Nur Yaqub that your company is still alive and running and on its way to make tremendous profits. And this is all I can say. Please welcome with me His Excellency, the Minister of Finance, Muhammad Nur Yaqub. Please rise. Thank you very much. In 1996, we were honored to give him the Lariba Award for Excellence, and I'm very pleased to inform you that the Board of Directors of American Finance House, Lariba, has agreed unanimously, voted unanimously, to offer the award to His Excellency, Brother Noor Muhammad Yaqub. Congratulations. More will be done. I want to show you a picture from history in 1996. Let us see how Brother Yaqub, he didn't look much different actually then. Let's look at him. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased and honored to announce that in its meeting of November 16, 1995, the Board of Directors of American Finance House, Lariba, has voted unanimously to grant the 1995 award to His Excellency the eminent Mr. Noor Muhammad Yaqub, the former Senior Advisor on Islamic Lariba Banking and Trade Finance at Bank Negara, the Malaysian Central Bank. Congratulations. And I'd like to congratulate you. And I would like to get your better half, Fawzia. Sister Fawzia, or the titles in Malaysia are very interesting. Yeah, that's enough. Puan Sri Fawzia. Sister Fawzia also did some very distinguished work during the Bosnian crisis, when, of course, we have forgotten what happened in Bosnia, but she has overseen the process of moving many, many orphans from Bosnia and many people that lost their family from Bosnia and brought them over to Malaysia. And it was very interesting to meet Bosnians, Europeans who spoke Bahasa Malay in Malaysia. And Sister Fawzia, we're honored to have you, and we thank you very much for coming. Let's get the awards. This is a certificate of special congressional recognition from the United States Congress of the United States to His Excellency Minister Tan Sri Muhammad Noor Muhammad Yaqub. Congratulations. And California State Assembly, His Excellency Senator Jack Scott. County of Los Angeles, from our dear friend Mike Antonovich. And Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Mr. Lee Baca. The whole city is up there now for you. Where are they? And the city of Los Angeles, Mr. Dennis Zahn. And of course the city of Pasadena, Mayor Bill Bogard. And then the Lariba Award itself. Where is the award? Thank you very much. So this is an eagle that's waiting to get the catch, right? So please accept it. The award says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, from the Holy Quran, وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. And the meaning is, and those pioneers are indeed the ones who are closer to Almighty God. And indeed you are, because you touched and changed the lives of millions of people. May God bless you. Thank you very much. Now we listen to Brother Noor Yaqub.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Brother Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me say Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh, and a very good afternoon to everyone here. I'm indeed very touched by your presence, and I wish to thank the Board of Lariba and my dear brother Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman for this very prestigious award. I accept this award with humility and wish to dedicate it to my beloved mother, Allahyarham Raihan Bibi binti Syed, who returned to Allah in April 2000. In fact, she sacrificed her life for me, and without her I would not be standing here today. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah that He has allowed us to be able to gather and think and collaborate and exchange views, and may He accept these small deeds of ours as an ibadah, and may He guide us along the straight path. I wish to, Brother Yahya referred that I was here last weekend in Washington, and I am here today. Indeed, the modern day travel has made life very easy for us. Compare this with the travel of ancient times. Remember Christopher Columbus? Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain and wanted to go to India. He didn't reach India. He came to the United States, and the rest is history. If today, in modern time, if we set out from Spain and want to go to India, we will go to India. Only our luggage will go to the States. Ladies and gentlemen, I also support the idea that Brother Yahya Abdul Rahman would be a very suitable candidate for the post of UN Secretary General, because he is such a fantastic man, a man with such a sincere heart and full of goodwill for mankind. And he's also a diplomat in another sense. I remember one function that we attended here in the States, where there was a conference, and both he and I were slotted to go up and become panel members for a session on Islamic banking. But before our session, there was another panel, and when that session ended, these panel members did not go down because they were just hugging and kissing each other. And Brother Yahya went up and very politely told them that, can you please do all your kissing down there and leave the panel place to us? And they obeyed. And I remember then the definition of a diplomat. The definition of a good diplomat is one who can tell someone to go to hell, but tell it in such a way that that person will enjoy the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wish to share with you today a little bit about my country, Malaysia, and how we have progressed over the years. I have a written text, but I do not want to read from the text today. I just want to briefly describe where we came from, where we are today, and where we intend to go. Malaysia is one of those countries that was under the British colonial office. We were occupied way back from 1500s by the Portuguese occupied Malacca, and later on the Dutch, and finally the British. But Malaysia became independent in the year 1957. Many countries became independent in 1957, and many people thought that we will be one of those countries which became independent, and which eventually, because of the racial mix and because of lack of expertise and experience, will not be able to develop and grow. In fact, Malaysia is a very interesting country because only 50% or so, slightly above 50% of the population are Muslims. We have a significant number of Christians, significant number of Hindus. We have in the racial mix, we have the Chinese, the Indians, the Malays, and Christmas is celebrated, Chinese New Year is celebrated. The Indian festivals are celebrated. Sometimes it's a problem because we think we have too many holidays. But we took this racial mix as an advantage rather than a disadvantage. The leaders that we had from 1957, Tunku Abdul Rahman, ensured that the policies that were implemented was such that the races came together, worked together as a team, and the country, so that the country will be able to grow. And one of the things that we ensured from the very beginning was that the country's growth must be equitable. While we make sure that we spend money on infrastructure and education particularly, 25% of our GDP still goes to education. We make sure that that growth is distributed in such a way that the less advantaged, the poorer sections of the population get a bigger slice of the growth. So our philosophy is, of course, never to take from Paul to give to Peter. So we decided from the very beginning that we will not take from Paul to give to Peter. What we will do is we will use the concept of an expanding pie. As the pie expands, the original pie will remain as it is, but that portion which expands, we will give a little bit more to the lower income groups, to the poorer section of the population, so as to lift the quality of life of the poor, and eventually, of course, to eliminate poverty altogether. In 1957, when we became independent, our rate of poverty was 50%, 50. Today, with the help of God, we have reduced it to 5%, and very soon our Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Abdullah Ahmad Badawi, has publicly declared that our intention is to reduce it to 0 as quickly as possible. We had very good rate of growth, about 7 or 8% over long periods of time. But something unexpected happened in 1997. For the decade 1987 to 1997, we were growing at around 8.5%, 9%. Inflation was around 1.5%. Unemployment was not a problem at all. There was full employment. We had very little foreign loan in the country, and even the little foreign loan that we had, we made sure that we prepaid, not repaid, but prepaid earlier. And one of my jobs in central bank was, of course, to prepay these loans. I remember my boss, the governor then, one day called me and said, look, our external reserves are rising. We have a number of foreign loans. Why don't we just prepay these loans? And I remember going to many countries and prepaying the loans. And I remember going to Japan and to this particular bank, and we told him that we have this loan and we want to prepay it. The Japanese banker said, no, you cannot prepay the loan. So I asked him, why can't we prepay the loan? He said, because in the loan document there's no prepayment clause. So I said, okay, but can you allow us to be flexible to prepay? He said, no. You cannot prepay because we want Malaysia's name in our loan books. That's how good your quality is. So I came back and told that to my boss, the governor of Central Bank, and I saw tears in his eyes. The governor has passed away since then, but I saw tears in his eyes. He was so proud and so happy to be a Malaysian that although we want to prepay, there are people who want our name to be in the loan book. That was how good we were and how careful we were with money. And yet, something happened in 1997. Our currency, which has been very stable for more than 2 decades, at around 2.5 ringgit to $1, suddenly started to fall, plummet really, and was going to become 4.8. And there was this joke going around that Soros told Dr. Mahathir, see you at 5. Not 5 o'clock, but 5, exchange rate of 5 to $1. That was a joke. But the ringgit was not doing well, and the stock market was coming off, and we can't understand why this was happening. But we realized that the way the international structure of the currency trading was such that large amount of funds were shorting the ringgit. And we thought that one way to get out of it is perhaps to introduce some measures into the country to stabilize the situation, and then so that we can grow and recover. And what we did basically was to come out with these measures which were considered unconventional, and peg the ringgit and make sure that people were not able to borrow the ringgit to short the ringgit. And once having done that, we started doing what it takes to reduce interest rate. And as Brother said, we organized the property market, for example, in such a way that we had the property sellers giving deep discount, we had the banks giving 100% loan, the government gave waivers on all taxes and legal fees, etc. And we did everything that we could. We actually micromanaged the economy to bring recovery. In Malaysia, we had to do this particularly because we are a multi-religious and multi-racial country. If we don't have the economic growth, we have economic downturn and economic disaster. The political, social fabric of the country, the harmonious relationship with the various races could also be affected, and we didn't want that. So thank God, and with the help of God, of course, we were able to overcome that crisis, and that crisis is one cycle away, and now we are once again on the road towards prosperity and recovery, and our relationship with all. And one of the strength of Malaysia is that we are not a very ideological country. We are a very pragmatic country. We will do what is good for Malaysia, we will do what is good for mankind, and we believe really in prosper thy neighbor policy. We believe that if our neighbors do well, if the other countries in the world do well, we will do well, God willing. And I'm often asked this question nowadays, that China, are you not worried about the threat of China? I said no, because our philosophy is, the Malaysian philosophy is, if our neighbors do well, we will do well. And I always quote this example. We sell palm oil, and the Chinese in China, their consumption of palm oil is less than the international average. And there are 1.2 billion Chinese in the world, as you know, and the number is growing. As we speak, the number of Chinese are multiplying. So if every Chinese in China takes 1 spoonful of palm oil more per day, actually Malaysians don't have to work. So although the policy of prosper thy neighbor, we speak from the heart and we are sincere, and from the altruistic point of view, it also is good for our economy. That's a good example. The other example is, as China and India prospers, we find that as the middle class grows, we find that more and more Chinese and Indians are coming to Malaysia as tourists. We of course have we have the sun, the sand, the sea, and we have what it takes to attract tourists. And as the Chinese and Indians and others, the Singaporeans, the Indonesians, the Thais, as they get richer and richer, they're spending more and more money in Malaysia on tourism. And so this policy of prosper the neighbor, while it is good, it is like a motherhood statement. It is this thing about goodwill and among mankind is good by itself as a principle. It's also good economics. So there's no reason for us to worry about what is happening in China, etc. And right now, with the new Prime Minister in charge, our main focus is to improve efficiency. What we have done since 1957 until now is to build the infrastructure. We have one of the best infrastructure in the world. Even we have one of the best roads traversing throughout the country, the rail, the port, and the transportation system. We have spent plenty of money on education, on schools, to make sure that there's a computer in every school, the computer lab in every school, etc. From here onwards, under the leadership of the new Prime Minister, we are emphasizing the software aspect of growth. We are looking at the quality of our growth and the quality of our life. We are going for zero. Our target is to have zero corruption. Corruption is very little in Malaysia, but even the little will no longer be tolerated. We are going for ethical values. We are going for change in management, and from here onwards, we are emphasizing performance-oriented culture in Malaysia. In the case of government-linked companies, the practice of lifetime employment is over. All the managerial posts in Malaysia, in the government-linked companies, will now be on contract for 3 years, and the salaries will not be government salaries. Of course, as you know, the ministers and the government servants earn very little in Malaysia, but that is okay. Some people will have to sacrifice for the country. But those who run our corporations where government has some interest, will be run like a private sector. They will from here on be paid private sector salary, market salary, and we are going to get the best that money can buy to run our telecom and our tenagas and our mass and our proton. And we are going to open it up to Malaysians of all races. And we can't get a Malaysian with the right qualification. We will get a non-resident, a foreigner to come and work in Malaysia. What we want basically is a culture of very high performance with just and reasonable wages. It is basically the American culture, and we are adopting the best practices from the world, and much of it is from the States, because in the States you pay the CEOs well, and you have SOs and shares, etc. But of course they're also on contract, and if they don't do well, they go. We are also following that, and in terms of corporate governance, we are also following the best practices of the Securities Commission in the States and in other developed countries, and we hope that in this period we will bring in greater amount of transparency, greater amount of ethical financing, and a greater amount of competitive bidding. The Prime Minister has announced that from here on, the projects of the government will be by tender. It will be on open tender system, so that we get the best price, and it's the most objective way of giving out projects. So we are in a very exciting phase in our life, and I hope that all of you could one day come and visit Malaysia and see for yourself our country. And basically, I think this achievement, as the Prime Minister said, as the former Prime Minister said before, this award is not really for me. It's for this country, this great country called Malaysia. And with that, Brother Yahya, I do not know how to thank you. You have been so very kind and generous, extravagantly generous to me. May God bless you, and whatever return that I cannot give, may God guide you and bless you and shower you with His generosity. Thank you very much.
We have one thing left, and that is a pianist who played in front of Queen Elizabeth. And he's a young man, a very talented young man, so please wait with us again for about 10 minutes, a maximum of 10 minutes. Zaid?